Hey everyone, how's it going? How is the first week of spring treating you? It is the first official week of spring. Personally, I could not be happier that winter is over. I don't want to jinx it, and I'm knocking on wood, but it feels to me like we might finally be moving out of the bad place into a slightly less bad place. It's hard to say, and I don't want to overstate, but that's kind of what it feels like to me. Welcome to Teal Talk, the everything about the business of content creation show. I'm your host, Jenny Guy, and I want to thank you for joining us. Do we have any first timers in the house for Teal Talk? Give us a shout out in the comments. Say hi, it's your first time. Or say it's your 50th time. Whether it's your first time or your 50th, we are so glad you're here. Thank you for coming and being a part of this show every week and telling us what you want to hear about. It means more than we can say. All right. Hello, everyone. Hi. Thank you for joining us. Keep on coming on in. Okay. I have to ask an important question. Am I broken, or is anyone else still really screwed up from daylight savings time? I am still screwed up. I don't know why. I think it's just because I'm getting older. But I am still, I don't know what time it is. I go to sleep at a weird time. I wake up at a weird time. Sam, Eric, am I alone?
Yes. No, you're not alone.
Definitely not. I promise you.
I feel like we're not talking about it enough. Why isn't anyone talking about this? Is so screwed up. And I'm finding it's really hard. It's really hard to look forward to the future when I don't know what time it is or when I'm going to sleep or when I'm going to wake up. So I don't know about that for anyone else, but that's all the segue we get for today because we have a very big topic. Speaking of looking forward, the topic for today's show is the future of our industry. Okay. Sorry. I wish that we had voice modulation for that, but I just came up with that right before we started. And so we just went with my echo. We are high tech here at our tech company. But not to put too much importance on this, but it is real important because we are talking about the future of the programmatic advertising industry because we are talking about first-party data and third-party cookies and our solutions for that and Google's solutions for that and all of these crazy things. So it is important. And I just want to get this out of the way. I don't know if you guys are sick of hearing us talk about it. We're feeling a little sick of talking about it because we have to talk about it all the time, but we have to keep talking about it because it's a pretty big deal. I have two amazing guests though that are going to make talking about it so much more lovely. I have Sam Seeley, who is the product manager for Grow.me. She joined Mediavine in 2019 as a support specialist supporting Mediavine products. In 2020, she joined the product team as a product manager for all things related to Grow, one of the only good things that happened that year. She holds a BA in multimedia production and an MA in teaching and learning from SUNY Empire. She lives in the Hudson Valley of New York with her precious pup Penny and her husband Joe. She enjoys cooking, photography, and playing all of the video games. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. Excited.
Thank you for coming. And our other person with the teal wall, as always, is our CEO, Eric. I don't have a bio for you because I just want you to make one up on the spot. What's your bio, Eric?
Hi, first time Teal Talk listener here.
Great.
Hey guys, I'm the CEO of Mediavine and I have a lot of Shih Tzus. That is my bio typically. 6 of them right now at my house. So that feels good.
That's not a euphemism. He's talking about actual physical Shih Tzu dogs that are in his house. If we may have to have him come back a little bit later with a picture of all those pups, just so we can see them. Okay. So audience, this is a question for you. And we're opening up the floor. If you have questions, which if you're a person in the industry, I don't know how you wouldn't have questions. We all have questions about what's happening with Chrome and the cookies and the data and all of those things. So please put them in the comments. But my specific question for you right now, if you are currently using Grow.me, when did you take the plunge and what is your favorite, most successful feature? If you are not using Grow.me, what is stopping you? If you're a Mediavine publisher, please tell us, please be honest. We want to know if there's something about it you hate, tell us because we want to fix it. while they are answering that, I want to start with Sam and Eric. Let's start at the very beginning. Third-party cookies are dying, crumbling, what have you, in Chrome in 2022. We don't know when. No one will tell us. I read something today that said probably in the first 6 months. Eric, would you agree with that? First 6 months of 2022?
Sure. I believe Google's official line is they'll remove them when they feel that the replacement, which is the Privacy Sandbox, is ready. So that's about as much as they'll give us. But if you go off the initial wording they said, within 2 years of when they announced it would have to be the very beginning of January. I don't think they're going to make that deadline, but I would assume, yeah, first half is probably a safe bet.
Okay. So it's Google. Google's going to Goog. This has everybody in this goodbye of third-party cookies, cookie apocalypse, all the things that we say, has everybody in the programmatic industry from us to Google talking about identity solutions and privacy sandboxes and first-party data, and a somehow strange thing to bird acronyms. We don't know why Google did that, but all of their solutions are named after bird things. Eric, can you sift through all of the noise and please tell us what is important and what is actually prudent for us to know and discuss, please?
How many birds do I have to give during this?
Now you've thrown out a gauntlet and I want to see how many you can name. How many birds are there?
I think we're going to focus. So the Privacy Sandbox is Google's solution or replacement for third-party cookies. And it is a more user or more privacy-centric way of basically allowing advertisers to do targeting, to do measurement, to do all the things they needed to use third-party cookies for in the past. And in order to do that, they're isolating each of the different things that advertisers need, and they're all going to be named after a bird. This is why Jenny and I keep making fun of all the birds, one of which is Flock. That's the first one that has an actual release date, and it's gone into testing now, and Mediavine's already registered and playing with it. But Flock is federated learning of cohorts. Yeah, a little bit of a stretch, but basically it is the way in which Google will figure out which interests or websites you visit anonymously by putting you in a cohort. So you surrounded by a bunch of other people will be able to say, you guys visit these websites, so therefore we should target these kind of ads to you. It won't name the exact websites, the exact users. It's much more anonymous than third-party cookies would have been, but hopefully giving the same performance. Google found in their study it was 95% as close. We don't know. The industry is not sure whether we can trust that number or not. That sounds great. If it's true, we're all in. But yeah, that's the first of the announced birds. There's Sledge, which is an improvement on Turtle Dove. There's a lot of other ones. If you want me to keep going, Parakeet.
Pigeon? Is it? Okay. So, but before we get into that, before we get too deep into the Privacy Sandbox, what's happening now? What are third-party cookies, and why do we want to get rid of them?
Let's take it back a little bit. So third-party cookies have been around forever. Cookies are basically the way in which you can store information on a web browser as you go to browse websites. So I don't know, save your login into Facebook. You would be very sad if you didn't have cookies and had to re-log into every website ever. Third-party cookies means you can access it on a different website. So the example I always like to give is if you have Facebook comments on your site, how you're magically automatically logged into Facebook, even though you're not on Facebook.com, you might be on your own website. And the way they do that is through a third-party cookie, which allows them to access cookies on a different domain. And that was used by advertisers, very clever advertisers, to figure out how to target users for advertisements and how to measure them across the web and do all sorts of fun things. Unfortunately, some of that stuff, it's way more innocuous, I think, than a lot of people think. But there are, of course, malicious uses to this, and which is why Google and a lot of the industry has already moved towards this. So Safari blocked them, Firefox blocked them, and now you're just seeing Chrome basically join the fray in blocking these, which luckily Google, since they make a lot of their money off ads, are offering a alternative, which is the Privacy Sandbox going forward, versus Safari and Firefox that does shut them off. And when they shut them off, there's no way for us to serve personalized ads or for companies like Comscore or Nielsen to measure users as they go across the web.
So this is essentially what we had to deal with when GDPR happened, right? Like at that point, we could no longer serve those personalized ads, so we saw revenue take a hit, yes?
So that was the fear with GDPR, right? Unless we got a user to consent to personalized ads, we were no longer going to be able to serve personalized ads. So I think the industry came together. We introduced something called the TCF. It's basically a framework, a transparency and consent framework for showing how we could ask readers for their permission to serve personalized ads. The industry came together again. Mediavine built our own CMP, throw another acronym into the mix, consent management platform, whereas you go to basically any Mediavine site in the EU, we're able to serve a pop-up more or less, or a modal saying, hey, can we serve you personalized ads? The user says yes, we can do so. The incredible part, we have a blog post on this, we actually increased revenue for websites by offering that CMP. So enough users said yes, and those users were then worth more, that our publishers made more money from GDPR, not less.
And this is the hope with what we're going to do when we're talking about authenticated traffic, right?
Exactly. We think we can do the exact same thing this time around because we're being so proactive and building solutions such as Grow.me and working with Google on the Privacy Sandbox, that we would love nothing more than when third-party cookies go dark, that we come back with more revenue for our publishers.
We love revenue. We love money. Okay, I'm going to go back because we have a whole lot of comments about people using Grow.me, and I think you guys are going to want to hear them first. Okay. Michelle said, I started using Grow.me when it first came out, like day one. I love the recommended content. I'm shocked by the conversion. Would love to hear that. Okay. Someone said, I just added it, but actually have no idea what it does. I just heard it was something we should do. Tara said, the very first day it launched, I love all of the features. I get really good interaction with the top recommendation strip. We have another one that says, I'm using it, but to be honest, I turned it on and forgot about it. I have no idea what I like or don't like. Fair. Okay. This is a good one. I've been using Grow.me as soon as it was announced. I love it. The new subscribe feature was an amazing addition and is doing so well on my site. I'm getting more signups than before. Plus, there is that whole gaining first-party data perk that we all love. This was what we were hoping for. Carrie says, I started using it right away. I love the related post widgets, especially the top bar. Thank you for the analytics dash to analyze data. Now we're going to get into some questions instead of just really lovely compliments. Okay. Michelle said, my overall question. So if first-party cookies go away everywhere and no one has access to them, explain why revenue goes down 60%. The money is still there, just distributed, not via third-party cookies. So won't third-party cookie ads go up by at least some percent with first-party cookie going up the most, or am I too optimistic? Eric.
I'm gonna guess that one's going to me. Okay. That's a fun one. Let's talk numbers. So no, we don't think that necessarily things are going to go down 60%. One, because the Privacy Sandbox is going to exist. So some of the money will ultimately end up going there. And of course, our publishers that have authenticated traffic. But if you did nothing and you didn't use the Privacy Sandbox and you literally just relied on first-party cookies, yeah, 60% of your Chrome revenue would go down. And the way we know that is because, again, we already have Safari and Firefox to look at. What does ad spend look like there? And it's 60% lower. The reason why is they can't target their users there. So as a result, you can't necessarily run the same campaigns. You're not willing to pay as much money. So let's say your campaign is able to spend a lot of money because you know you're targeting, I don't know, let's say you're running an ad management company. You want to run a campaign against bloggers. I will spend more money on that campaign. Okay, I know we don't do outbound marketing. I'm trying to give an example here, Jenny.
Okay, fine.
I would assume I would get better conversion by marketing to, let's say there's a few million bloggers out there. That's generous, but I would get better conversion by marketing to them, right? Then versus if I had to cast a wide blanket and say, I'm going to go to all 300 million or whatever number of US people are on the internet, I'm just going to blindly market to all of them. I'm not going to be able to spend as much money. So you divide the spend out. Instead of spending a $10 CPM, to reach your 1 million, you might end up spending 50 cents because you know you have to spend a bunch of wasted money to reach the same number of conversions. So unfortunately, no, there is going to be a drop in spend if you do nothing, which is obviously not what we're going to do at Mediavine and certainly not what we're encouraging any of our publishers to do.
It's hot leads versus opening the phone book and sticking your finger down and finding somebody.
Perfect example.
And yeah, we want hot leads. And that's what, and so I think what Michelle is also saying is that will the advertisers keep pouring the same money in no matter what? We're saying that they probably won't if they can't target. If they can't reach the people they're trying to, they're not going to continue pouring the same money into programmatic advertising, correct, Eric?
But even if it's the same amount of money, they're just not going to spend as much per impression.
Got it.
They can no longer say this impression is worth a lot for me, so I'm going to put a lot of money into that one impression, which is what drives up the auction. Instead, they're going to say, I'm going to spend less money on all impressions. They may have the same, who cares, $10 million budget, but if it's divided amongst more impressions, it's worth less to us as publishers.
Very helpful. Okay. Noreen said, and we actually have something about this in a little bit. She said, I started using as soon as I could. I love it. I will plead again for a short video about Grow.me for my readers that explains what it is and what it offers them. Please, please, please. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Somebody said, I thought third-party cookies were phasing out in early 2022. That is accurate. We don't have a date yet, but we will come back. Okay, we've got some other things in here. Ben Heath says, have you all looked at what the Brave browser is doing with the basic attention cookies for publishers? Have we looked at that at all, Eric?
So,
oh no,
some BAT tokens. We can do that. So basically what Brave ends up doing, and this is, I think you can sign up as a publisher. They basically block ads and then they run their own ads on your website. I have obviously issues with that, not just as an ad management company, but as a content creator that is in fact stealing. But I probably, okay. If you want to sign up for that, by all means, as a publisher, go ahead and sign up for it. But that is unfortunately, they're going to take over your ads on your page. They're going to run their own and they're going to give you a piece of that. It's unfortunately not the best business practice. And I don't think publishers should sign up for it because that is only encouraging a bad business practice in my mind.
All right. Okay. Sam, we've got some feature specific questions here that I'm gonna be engaging you on. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Tara says, the only thing I don't like in recommended content, sometimes if you update the pictures within the post, it doesn't pick up the new image to use. Is there a way to refresh so it pulls a new image and lets go of the old?
There is a way to refresh, but we also are working on some other features in terms of like Grow meta tags that where you'll be able to like selectively choose these things. So I think that going forward, once those things are released and we start working on them, that will be easier to do.
Yes, we are definitely, I can tell you from the outside, they're taking all of these comments that are beta testers because Grow is still beta, right? Is that accurate, Sam?
Yes, absolutely. And everything you guys say in comments on Facebook, when you write in, we're adding it to our feedback center. We're reading it. I read through it all the time. So yes, definitely keep saying things.
I can tell you for sure that I've seen Sam multiple times be like, hey guys, this reader said this. Is it possible to X? And the answer is usually yes, because we know the reason why. I actually might tap in Eric on this one. We released Grow.me in a very different way than we typically do product releases, right? Well, this is not how we usually do this.
Yes.
Right. So this would be called a minimum viable product, as they generally call it. And
why didn't we market it that way?
Right,
I don't
exactly.
know. Who doesn't love that term?
The computer terms for this are not great, the programming terms and like agile development, where we are trying to do rapid development based upon our stakeholders, which in this case are you, the publishers. So we are trying to release features with as basic as we can and build on them based upon your demands. And part of that is just due to the quick nature in which we have to respond right now. We all have until 2022. So let's build this thing together as quickly as we can. So if a feature comes out, you don't love the way it is day one, good. That's the intended feature. It was meant to get your feedback. So bring your feedback. Sam loves it. As she said, it is all going into the feedback center. And that's what's guiding the roadmap.
Didn't we redesign
Absolutely.
the whole widget? Like the recommended content widget
did.
after people said, we don't like this?
You mean the main widget, right?
Right.
Yes, we absolutely did. It went from 5 floating buttons to 2, and it's beautiful. I'll just use this opportunity to say that we are also working on some other widget designs that I think people will really like. In terms of like a vertical widget. I know this was maybe going to come up later on, but I'm going to.
It already did in a comment. You're jumping it. It's good.
Okay, awesome.
I'll get there in 1 second. Yep.
We'll do. Okay. Yeah. So a vertical widget, one that sticks to the side, also Grow Social Pro or Grow Social integrations. And it's going to be good, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. We're listening to all that stuff and it keeps changing. The other reason why we did it this way, I remember back when we were talking about this product before it came out and releasing it to everyone, is because, and tell me if I'm not saying it right, Eric, but because you know your readers better than we do. We understand that very well, that you guys have an intimate understanding of what is going to entice your readers to log in. That's why we're all but, and no, we are begging, please do this and please tell us how we can make this better and get your readers to subscribe. Noreen, that's a great, more feedback on telling them what it is. We are already talking about that. Our current goal is on the feature set that we think will work, but then we will beef up our education portion of this. There's lots of stuff that we're working on. Okay, Michelle says, Michelle, my least liked is the subscribe. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I really want to love it. I've had 4 people sign up total and no one in the past 4 days at all. I love getting the idea of getting first party data, but with no integration, no incentive, easily delivered, it's just not working. Thoughts on how I can improve it on my site, because I'm pretty much ready to turn it off at this point until it's more developed and I don't want to do that. Do either of you have thoughts on that?
I think that you're going to really like some of the more pro features that we're going to develop as we get into subscribe a little bit more. Like Eric was saying before, this was a minimum viable product, an MVP. So this was the first iteration of subscribe. There are a lot of things coming that I think will really help here, including, I'm going to spill some beans, Zapier integration that we're going to be working on shortly, so that all of that kind of stuff kind of gets done like for you. Can integrate with your email service providers and go forward with that, with your welcome sequences, any freebies and all of that stuff. We're working on multiple CTAs and tagging things. We're not quite working on it yet. Like we're pre-planning and getting into the details. We're going to dive in, and I know it's going to be really exciting. And I don't know, Eric, if you have anything else to add, feel free. But we're working on lots of things.
And I would also say, like, you'd have to compare it to what another inline form was converting at in a similar location, and let us know. Because we've heard numbers that people are seeing 3 times the conversion on inline forms. If you're comparing it to a pop-up, no, it's obviously not going to do better than a pop-up, but I promise you it's a better user experience than a pop-up. Yep. But you got to compare apples to apples and let us know what you were running before and what you need this to be able to do to match that conversion. That's the feedback we want. As Sam said, we have a lot coming that you're going to be able to basically probably replicate what you had before, short of doing a pop-up. We are
trying to avoid those.
Yeah, we're hoping we can do this with a better experience.
I personally, as a user of the internets, really love Spotlight Subscribe. It gives a great user experience. It's beautiful, and it's like a pop-up without being a really annoying pop-up. That's how I feel about it.
I will say that I may be a bit biased, but I love seeing out in the wild on all of your sites. So thank you for running it. Same. It's exciting.
Yay. I love the recommended content carousel. I've been using Grow.me since August, September last year. It is great so far. I'm interested in more features to get email addresses through Grow.me. I used the subscribe widget for a few days, but I turned it off. My opt-in is so much better through my pop-up, which appears after the user scrolls about 30% through my page. Yes. Okay, we have a question here that it's gonna be a lawyer answer. What percentage of users actually use Chrome instead of Safari or Firefox? Eric, this is depends.
It depends. Right?
Yes, thank you.
Giving me the lawyer intro. Yeah, I mean, it really will. I hate to say it depends. It's going to be where your audience is based. So, without a doubt, Chrome is the dominant web browser globally, but that's not necessarily always true for your website. We hear a lot of people that have a very US-centric website with a lot of mobile users are going to have more Safari, right? It's just in the US, I think Apple is more popular than Android. Outside of the US, Android is more popular than Apple, and that really is going to dictate what browser people are using. And of course, on desktop, if you have desktop traffic, then you're going to end up with more Chrome, but who has desktop traffic anymore besides the very lucky few? So it's really going to depend on your traffic, what percentage it's going to make up.
Jacqueline says, should we worry if our readers aren't interacting with Grow.me as much as we'd like them to? I think that's another lawyer answer. We've got some time before this happens, before it all goes down. We are adding more features. Sam, do you want to take that one?
I think that I wouldn't worry. We're going to be building a lot of other things that will help incentivize people to actually interact with it and log in and all of that great stuff that we want them to do. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. And I know that this is like we were going to talk about this later, and we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but we're going to work on ways to like get people to know what Grow.me is. And the more people that are using it, the more that people are recognizing it on sites, the more that it will just become a thing that people are aware of and interact with.
And that's the more publishers that are using it, the more Mediavine people that are picking it up. You know, right now we're at how many, roughly 2,000 people using it?
3,000 publishers.
Almost
3,000.
3, yeah.
So there's almost 8,000 Mediavine publishers. We got a ways to go with our publishers adopting Grow.me. So the more we get adopting it, the more readers are going to be used to seeing it. There's work there to do. Someone mentioned Grow Analytics. Where would I find that? We actually have a blog post we created while the Grow.me dashboard is in a building phase, which it is. We are still working on it. There is a hack that we created through Google Analytics you can track. That is in a blog post that we will share at the end with all of our handouts. We will direct you towards that. Sue mentioned about the grow bar running horizontal. She doesn't like it. Make it stack horizontal on this. Yes, make it stack horizontal on the side. That's something we're working on. Okay, here's another question for subscribe. Mentioned this in a thread before, but when will entering first name be available to subscribe on Grow and not just email address?
I don't have an ETA, but it's definitely a thing that we want to look into doing for sure.
It's on the roadmap.
It's on the roadmap. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Jessica said, initially the Grow.me plugin did not sign readers up for my newsletter when they signed up for Grow.me. They would need to do that separately, which would be very confusing to readers. Has that changed? So I think that when they were, the only way they're going to sign up for your newsletter, Jessica, is if they're interacting with the Spotlight subscribe or subscribe widget. They have to intentionally want to sign up for your newsletter. They can't just, every person who works with recommended content or any of our other incentive features are not going to automatically get signed up to your newsletter. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah. So the way I like to look at it is, again, go back to the login with Facebook example that we're giving for comments. We want this to be as ubiquitous as login as Facebook, login with Gmail. We want readers to feel safe when they click on Grow.me, that they logged in, that their email and personal information isn't being shared unless they explicitly consented to sharing it. That is required for the, not just law, but for the overall success of Grow.me. And obviously with GDPR, we want to make sure we're always obtaining explicit consent. But beyond GDPR, even in the US, we require it because we think that's an important success of important to the success of Grow.me. And so, yeah, as Jenny said, right now, the only way in which they'll share their email address with you and explicitly consent is through Spotlight. But as Sam said, that is literally the beginning of Subscribe. Subscribe is a whole new wave of features, and Subscribe will be tied into a lot of other features that we are building. So not just explicit, here's another widget, but here are ways you could say, hey, subscribe to be able to get this download, subscribe, whatever you use for your general flow. You can use Subscribe to lock or to make certain areas of your sections of your site exclusive to only subscribed users. There's a lot of cool things coming that will allow you to be able to collect that consent. But again, you need that reader to say, I consent to sharing it. Just because they created a Grow.me on your site doesn't necessarily mean they consented. And remember, you want to make sure that that user who created an account anywhere on the internet through Grow.me is going to come back and feel safe on your site and want to consent to your site.
I think part of what all of this is moving towards, and a lot of the people that are watching right now and are longtime bloggers, the industry was the Wild West. 10 years ago, there were no regulations to anything. People were just consenting. You could do whatever. And the more and more we move down the line and the more bona fide we get as a profession and as an industry, the more restrictions are coming in. The laws are starting to catch up with the technology, and privacy is a thing, and it's something that we have to accommodate. So I can promise that we're doing everything we can to both honor privacy and be very strict to the letter of the law and respect the users while enabling you guys to have as much success as you possibly can with all of the features and get as many signups as you can and monetize. Not only because we love you and you're our publishers, but also because, P.S., that's our business too. So we do want to continue making money off of all of this. So we understand. We had someone say, and I'm actually going to, well, let's do this. I still feel like I'm in the dark about this whole thing, so I don't know how to sell it to my readers. Eric and Sam both. Let's do an overall, what is Grow.me? What the heck is it? I actually, Eric wrote a post, what the heck is Grow.me? Because it is not clear necessarily, even internally sometimes. So Eric, what is Grow.me?
So I think so let's look at it from two perspectives. First, what is Grow.me to you as a publisher? Because you need to understand it first before you can explain it to your reader. And it's going to be a series of tools to help you create a relationship or a better relationship with your reader, encourage them to sign in, and most importantly, encourage them to come back. That is the entire idea behind Grow.me. That is what we mean by a first-party relationship or first-party data. Your reader needs to log in and they want to come back to your website. And that's what we're here to help you do. So Grow.me is tough to define to you because it is different to each of you. Everyone is going to use a different tool. Something we recognized early, which Jenny said before, is that no one knows your readers better than you. So if I built a tool for the Hollywood gossip, it may work bonkers well for that audience and not work at all on your audience. And I can tell you some of the stuff that works really well to generate newsletter signups there. We're going to be introducing them soon to Grow.me. And some of you may say, this is terrible on my site. Some of you are already saying Spotlight doesn't work for you, and I can promise you it works on the Hollywood gossip. So we want to give you a series of tools. So what it means to your site might be different than someone else's site. What it means to your reader, though, is going to be a better browsing experience across the web. And we are slowly building out more and more features to those readers. So personalized content, once they log in, they get better content recommended to them. If you can't believe how well you're converting right now in your recommended content and use Google Analytics to see it, it's unbelievable conversions. Logged in users get even more personalized content to them. People are going to want that better experience. They'll get a customized, basically, view of your website that they can get catered to them. They'll eventually, again, be able to get more and more features. They have favorites across all these different websites.
Recipe boxes.
Recipe boxes. We have a lot of cool stuff coming that will be more reader focused over time. And I think it's going to begin to make more and more sense to both sides, the publisher and the reader.
Part of the other thing is you don't have to drive readers to Facebook on your website. You don't have to explain what it is. You don't have to do any of that. And the goal right now is to keep building things up to where Grow.me takes that place. It's not, people aren't like, what does that mean? We do promise that when they click on Grow.me, they are getting prompts. They're getting information from us. We're telling them what they need to do. We're telling them what they'll get. Customize your own place on the internet. Build your own home on the internet. Build out your recommended content. Build out the websites that you love. Favorite the people you want. Get that. We've talked about digests where you can get posts from all the different websites that you're following. We're building out these values. So Eric calls it a value exchange, so that people get something in exchange for letting us serve them personalized ads. That's what we're doing. Sam, do you have something to add to that? I'm sure you do. Much smarter than I just stumbled through.
Not at all. Are we talking about Explorer? Do we want to talk about Explorer a little bit?
I think definitely let's talk about that.
Okay. So the one thing that we are working on right now is an Explorer page that actually right now it's going to come from when someone comes from email once they subscribe, and then they'll be given this landing page that's an Explore Grow.me page. It's really beautiful. And then they can take a product tour. And then it kind of brings them through, it's like interactive, and it brings them through each of the pieces that exist on like the Grow UIs that exist, like bookmarks and search and all of that wonderful stuff. So it's pretty interactive and it's really, really great. And we're really excited about it. And I can see value in putting that in different places eventually once we get into notifications and the tooltip that pops up right now when people save your post. We can, like, if it's their first time, maybe this is just me thinking out loud now, maybe direct them that way. So there's a lot of uses for this that isn't necessarily going to be in place on day one because, again, a minimum viable product, but eventually it'll be a thing that we'll utilize more and more. So it's really exciting.
And again, keep telling us what it is that you think is going to really make people, like, what would make you do it? What if you were interacting on a website and you clicked on something and it said, what would make you consent to give your email address and create an account? What are the features that you want to see? That's what we're trying to build. So please keep helping us. That's what we're doing. We've got somebody that says, I'd love to see a pop-up for subscribe. When I added the in content for 3 days, I saw a huge decline in email subscribers. We had somebody literally two comments later say, I love the way subscribe stands out because I hate pop-ups. And then our director of support said it converts just as well for me as any inline form I've ever used. That's good feedback. Okay. We have a comment from Leah who says, I don't use inline forms without opt-ins and sequences. So I'm waiting for those abilities or integration with ConvertKit. Where are we with that, Sam?
Beginning phases, but I promise you that we're jumping in to the Zapier integrations that will also interact with ConvertKit for sure.
Yes, there are lots of things. We know that you guys have sequences, you guys have freebies, you have all of those things, and we are working on ways to make those come into Grow.me and into the subscribe feature. We promise. We had another question. When does all this go down? Meaning the end of third-party cookies, not until March 2022, or is there something going to happen this spring as well? I think Lauren might be talking about the thing that we're going to talk about in a month on Teal Talk. Google is doing something in this spring in May, but it has nothing to do with cookies. Eric, do you want to tease what Google is doing this spring that matters to all of us?
Well, they're certainly putting an end to pop-ups because that's one of the requirements of page experience. It's not a new requirement, but page experience is the name of their new algorithm launching in May. And it's a culmination of basically no pop-ups, basically a better reader experience. So that includes core web vitals. So making sure that you're hitting their 3 metrics. I'm not going to go over too much into the acronyms,
More
but LCP, FID, CLS. Yeah, so all that's coming in. The good news is, yes, Mediavine has a fix, optimized. We already have optimized for page speed. It helps you hit first input delay and largest contentful paint, so LCP and FID. And then we have a fix coming for ads, or to optimize for CLS for ads. So our publishers will be very happy come May, or can be very happy come May. But no, we don't think that Google is going to be phasing out the third-party cookie ahead of schedule. So they said within 2 years. We think they're probably going to get to the very end of that 2 years or beyond. So don't worry about anything happening today. But remember, Safari, Firefox already removed third-party cookies years ago.
So yes, that's probably not going to happen faster. There is something happening in the spring that we're going to be talking about in about a month on this show. That's in May. That Google is doing. But we think you'll be happy about that we have some great solutions for you guys, and we'll be talking about that soon. But with the cookies, like Eric said, that you can be making more money on that right now in Firefox and in Safari getting this authenticated. We'll get into that in a second. Okay. Maiki says, I've noticed that the internal search doesn't show all posts. For instance, if you search for chicken, it only shows a handful of posts when there should be dozens. Any plans to improve that?
Absolutely. We are working on, we haven't quite started it yet, but we are going to work on a different provider for search, hopefully in the future, hopefully soon. And I think that will get a lot better and more seamless and be really exciting for everybody.
Yes, very exciting. Okay. Jeffrey says, is Grow.me basically the #1 solution for preventing the loss of any income once the third-party cookies go away? Eric, he can't tee you up more than that.
So again, we're going with a multi-pronged approach is the way we keep saying it. So we're going to use the Privacy Sandbox, which is, again, being promoted by Google, but it really is an industry-wide way of solving for this. So that's a replacement for third-party cookies. Currently, Chrome is the only browser that's actually implemented any of it. But I mean, Microsoft, their browser Edge now is based off Chromium, and they've been participating. So we might get Edge in on it. And it's very possible, maybe Apple decides, hey, I don't hate advertising so much anymore, and they're going to hop in, or Firefox. So we don't know. But in addition to that, we're working on, or we have contextual-based advertising. So that is based on what keywords you have on the page, what you're writing about. So we have great contextual stuff that's already live today, and it's been live for over a year and a half, I think, with Mediavine. So that's one of our other prongs. And then, of course, yes, Grow.me is going to be an amazing one. So you can also do it yourself, by the way. I do want to plug the Identity API, including which we have an integration with Slickstream. So if you prefer to build your own first-party data or really authenticated traffic, we do have that solution. But Grow.me is right now authenticating significantly higher already compared to people running Identity or the Slickstream integration. And we have amazing plans in the future because our goal is 5 to 10% of authenticated traffic, which again is very lofty compared to everyone else in the industry who doesn't really even have solutions right now. But we're confident that through all the suite of stuff that Sam has been talking about and hasn't even talked about, that you're going to be able to hit that 5 to 10%. That will be a meaningful amount of your traffic that will make you significantly more revenue. Today, it makes you 60% more revenue if a user is logged in, but in the future, it's going to be even more when third-party cookies go away. Because again, if an advertiser can reach their exact audience, they will pay heavily for it, and you'll be one of the few people that has it.
You already kind of touched on this, but Jeffrey asked a follow-up to that. Can we not just rely on the sandbox? Isn't that enough? Google's Privacy Sandbox. Why do we have to do both of these things, Eric?
Because we always strive for better. I think the Privacy Sandbox will certainly help you on Chrome traffic. And there's a very good shot that all of the solutions, since they are working in the industry, do come somewhat close to getting to the same levels. It will never be 100% because by nature of being of blocking the ability to target users, a lot of campaigns just won't be eligible to serve under the Privacy Sandbox. And that's okay. And again, that's why we're offering Grow.me so that we can help those advertisers on Chrome. Then also, again, think about it. If you have a US-based audience that has significant mobile traffic, you have an incredible opportunity with your Safari users that even if Chrome somehow magically releases the Privacy Sandbox and makes you the same amount of money, you still have the opportunity to come out of this ahead, thanks to the fact that Chrome basically forced all of our hands and that we built this amazing product and that publishers are embracing this. So I would say you could rely on just the Privacy Sandbox and you'll probably come somewhat close to current revenue, but we'd rather you make more.
Period. Could you do a giveaway using this somehow? Sam, do we have anything in the works to maybe do a giveaway?
There are definitely ideas of integrations and giveaways on the roadmap for sure. Yeah.
Excellent.
Could be really cool. There could be surveys, memberships, all kinds of cool stuff.
Yes, we've got all sorts of stuff going on. Okay. Heather says, this is our director of support again, with red hair, which I love, fierce. I think that the goal with tools should be intuitive. I never explain to my readers how to sign up for email or save to Facebook or pin to Pinterest. For my readers, Grow.me has been very intuitive. So when we ask for feedback, think about what's intuitive for your readers to engage with. Good feedback. Diana says, this is such a great comment. Grow.me is like a sophisticated blog lovin'.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that. Somebody said, could the Grow.me replace the popular post plugin for our sidebar?
I mean, yeah, I think so.
What couldn't it do?
What
I think
couldn't
that's what
it
you're
do?
going to find
What's
here.
the question?
We were joking before. Is it going to link up with your Netflix favorites? Maybe. Or is it going to somehow know what you're reading with your Kindle? Possibly. We don't know. I'm kidding. Obviously kidding about that. But there are lots of things it could do. And we are looking for ways that it can implement all of these different things that you love, that your readers love. Someone said, will the future recipe box only work with Create? Currently, I'm using WP Recipe Maker. I think my readers would really love this option. Eric. Oh, Sam, go.
We already integrate with WP Recipe Maker so that you can add a save button to WPRM. And it's exciting. There is a blog post about this. I'm sure it's in the links that will be sent after we're all done. And yeah, so you can definitely do that today.
Yes, you're welcome. Heather said, this is another great quote from Heather. To sum up, what is Grow.me? It's basically a fast set of features meant to help you capture first-party data. So for my readers, it may be a recipe box or an email campaign. For another site, it might be locked content or giveaways. What gets readers to engage with your content and stay tuned into your site and your content is what Grow.me is. We should hire her. Somebody said, I love how all these Mediavine features, these new features, allow me to use fewer plugins. Yay. We love that too. Someone else said, will there be integration with MailerLite? I use it for how amazing it works with my separate Shopify store. Those Zapier should work. Zapier? Did I say
Zapier? It's Zapier to make you happier.
Thank you, Sam. That's really good. Good. Excellent.
I didn't make that up. Zapier did.
Just take credit for it. She did it. Okay. Will there be an integration with MailerLite?
Well, through Zapier. Zapier. Happier.
Yes. So we've got a few more questions. We've got somebody who says, does that mean no pop-ups for the subscribe feature?
We hope not.
Right. We never say never. Our goal is if we can help you match the same conversion as your pop-up through less intrusive ways, we don't need a pop-up. If we cannot match that through everything that we end up building, then maybe we will explore pop-ups. We just want to use them as a last resort. Let's put it that way.
Jeffrey said, so if Safari already removed third-party cookies a while ago and we're currently doing just fine in revenue, which lost traffic on Safari mobile, we shouldn't see much of change when Google removes them, right?
We don't currently, this is on our roadmap to give you the ability to see Safari versus, or really iOS versus Android traffic. I think if you saw the difference, you would be very horrified as soon as Google does this. Again, that would only happen if the Privacy Sandbox wasn't a thing and there weren't replacements for it, but you would drop about 60%. That's what the number is on that percentage of your traffic. So if it is, let's say 50% of your traffic, Chrome, let's just use that number, your revenue would drop 30% if there was no replacement. But again, there are replacements coming. And it's not just GrowMe, it's also the Privacy Sandbox, contextual, and everything else we'll be doing.
Also, isn't it currently true that before we started doing what we're doing with authenticated traffic, Safari and Firefox monetize at a far lower rate than Chrome traffic? Isn't that accurate, Eric? Like now?
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I was trying to say. So,
sorry, I needed to put it in words that I understood.
Yeah, Safari makes about 60% less than Chrome. So that study that Google did is extremely accurate. You will, if as soon as we hopefully can give you the ability to see that, you would see that today. We can pull you a report if you want to see it on your particular site. Safari does make you significantly less revenue today. But again, you can fix that with Safari, and you can fix that with Chrome after the change.
Okay. What about non-WordPress sites? Are we going to be supported with Grow.me?
Of course. It'll work with any of your CMSs.
You're not going to be supported. You are supported today. So if you go to your dashboard and you join the beta right now, it doesn't matter what your CMS is, we're supporting you. Yay! We had someone share that I would love to drop Slickstream, but the Grow.me version wasn't as pretty. Do we have any feedback? Can you give us a little more specific feedback? Maybe email in to, is it grow/me and tell us
grow.me at mediavine.com. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I want to get a couple of more things coming down. People are asking right now. Okay. We've got this is for page experience. People are now saying, if in May Google doesn't want pop-ups, do we still use pop-ups? What happens with all our pop-ups? What's going on?
Right. Sorry, Noreen. I was just trying to tie it into the conversation. Google actually banned pop-ups years ago on mobile. And so you shouldn't be running pop-ups on mobile today. On the first page view is basically their rule. And a pop-up is defined by something that overlays over your content and takes up a certain percentage of the screen. So there are compliant ways to do a pop-up, and that's like if you are a small little icon or other ways of doing it. But you should not be running pop-ups today at all because you could already get hit by this algorithm. It's just a new name for an old algorithm, that particular section of it.
So we've kind of been bouncing around a lot with user questions, which I very much appreciated. And you guys are being amazing, and thank you for bouncing with me. I want to get to this one, though, because I think it's really important. We've got a valid concern that has been brought up by a few publishers, and I want to bring it up here and give it the airtime that it definitely deserves, because we want to address all of your concerns as transparently as we can, which is, what about putting all your eggs in the Mediavine basket? We are full service ad management. Now we have Grow.me. We also have a social sharing plugin. We've got a WordPress framework. We've got a most valuable content card. What that's scary and can be scary. And I'm gonna let the CEO speak to this, Sam, if you don't mind.
So first, I want to say you don't ever have to put all of your eggs in our basket, or whatever basket you want to use in this metaphor. The idea is, if you run all of them, they all work very well together. And publishers who are running them all, like come May, are going to love the page experience algorithm, because all of them are optimized for core web vitals, for example. People make more revenue that run Trellis compared to non-Trellis. All of these things do work together, but none of them are required. We've never required Trellis. And even cooler, the other way around, is you can run them with other ad management companies. There are plenty of publishers with other ad management companies that are running Trellis and Create today, and certainly Grow Social. So we are happy to have our plugins all run with non-Mediavine. Grow.me, we have the same long-term plans for. Grow.me, we have to figure out the pricing model, basically, is how it will work. And that's why it's not live today. And we want to make sure it's a little more polished and a little less beta before we bring it outside. For example, we need to have a dashboard that is not just saying, hey, you got to use Google Analytics and then log into your Mediavine dashboard, because you don't have a Mediavine dashboard. So we're figuring out all those kind of things, but we want to make sure that Grow.me is certainly accessible to non-Mediavine publishers. So nothing here is meant to trap you. And as far as whether we should be building all these tools or not, I mean, that's up for you to decide. But when it comes to Grow.me, yes, we absolutely should be building this, because first-party data is essential to the end of third-party cookies. And there's no one else that can represent your first-party data and sell it to advertisers at scale besides us. It is literally our job. That is what you hired us for. So we need to help you build first-party data. And as much as I would love to say, you guys all go build it for me, nobody here would know how to do that or don't know the next steps. First-party data isn't just users logging into your site. It's collecting demographic information. It's learning the interests. It's learning what pages they browse. It would actually be literally impossible for a lot of you to generate it on your own, and certainly impossible to reach the scale you would need. So I would say it's our duty, or the responsibility of your ad management company, to be building these, to be building this tool, this particular tool. The other ones, hey, we just look at it as a bonus for you if you want to make more money.
I'm going to put that into my words again real quick. The thing is, like, people are stay in your lane, stay in your lane. This is our lane. It could not be more our lane. We kind of get caught up in, and I do too, in the trappings of, well, it's recommended content. Well, it's social sharing. Well, it's an email. It's email service. It's those are the outside pieces of it. But at its heart, at its core, the goal of Grow.me is to collect first-party data to enable you to continue to serve personalized ads to your readers. So all of this other stuff are just incentivized. It's what we need to do to get people to give us their data. So we're not trying to take over all of the other plugins in the world. We're doing this because this is what we have to do in order to continue being viable as a programmatic advertising company. So that it is our lane. If there's anything else to say about that, please do. We always want to be upfront and talk about it.
And one other thing, just to note real quick, you don't have to run every feature of Grow.me. Everything is opt-in. So if you don't want it to be your search, it doesn't have to be your search. If you don't want it to be your recommended content, it doesn't have to be. So you will choose the pieces that you want. Not even those individual eggs don't have to be in this basket. You get to choose.
I'm going to go through some of these because these are great. I've had issues with Grow's ribbon and recommended posts too. It pulls my pins and social media images rather than featured images. I've been working with support for quite some time, but still doing it. And I would like to move away from Slickstream. Thank you for continuing to work with us. We're going to keep trying to improve and make it better for you. Diana says, all my eggs are in the Mediavine basket. Noreen says, let me go get you another dozen eggs because I'm fine having them in your basket. Our basket is so full right now. Carol Ann said, I switched from Slickstream to Grow a few weeks ago, and so far it's really good. It took a little getting used to, but essentially it's the same thing as Slickstream, but now I feel more connected to Mediavine, and that makes me happy. I'm such a Mediavine fangirl. If you say I need Grow.me, I get Grow.me. Totally trust in your recommendations. We love that. Okay. Here's a question for Eric that is not related to Grow.me. Does this mean publishers using Trellis earn more money than publishers who are not? How does that work?
Oh, I just simply, so on average, publishers running Trellis compared to publishers not running Trellis make more money. And that's because Trellis follows best practices. If you have a developer and you're able to build your website to best practices, let's say you have a super fast theme, you don't have a lot of JavaScript or things slowing it down, not a lot of DOM nodes, all sorts of geeky things I can say right now. You could do all this yourself without Trellis and make the same amount of money as Trellis Trellis publishers. But the difference is a lot of these Trellis publishers don't have those kind of resources. So it enables them to do what the largest publishers on the internet sometimes can't even do themselves. So it just puts more power into their hands. But you could certainly replicate it yourself with a very well optimized theme and developer on your team.
Okay. Wow. We just had a comment that says, I can't get you in my basket fast enough. Never have I been so excited to be all in with another company besides Apple. Okay. It doesn't let me say your name, but you just made Eric's like millennium comparing us to Apple. So thank you. Thank you for saying that. Okay. So before we go, we are almost out of time. It's been an amazing, amazing hour. I would like to hear from both of you features that are upcoming, maybe spill some more beans or highlight the features that are coming that you're most excited about before we go. So yeah, Sam, will you talk to us a little bit about what you're most excited about?
There's so many things, but so let's see, not locked content, exclusive content is a thing that we're going to be working on as soon as we can, and that one's really exciting. Another way to incentivize readers to log in by saving some special content for them. Downloadables I'm really excited about. The Zapier integration is going to be like game changing for Subscribe, memberships, so many things. There's probably more that I'm...
No, there's so many exciting things on the horizon, and we're just going to have to keep having you back because you're amazing. So we're just going to keep coming back on and talking more about features. Eric, what about you?
Well, Sam just stole the entire roadmap as her favorite feature.
Well, actually, Eric, Can you clarify a little bit about what you meant by being able to turn off the Grow features? Can you turn off all the Grow features? Are some of them essential? What's the story with that?
Well, favorites is basically inherently built in. That's the only one you can't turn off. So that's the widget in the bottom that has a favorite and social sharing. But you can turn off the individual social sharing network. So if you don't like Twitter or it doesn't resonate, I don't know why I said it that way. It doesn't resonate well with your readers, you can turn that one off. You can turn off Facebook. We're going to be adding other social media platforms, including a pretty cool, unique one that I'm excited for, which is the ability to email a publisher, a reader can email something to one of their friends. And that's actually the thing I was talking about in the Hollywood Gossip that converts insanely well. So readers love sharing stuff from the Hollywood Gossip via email. And then we offer them a chance to sign up or subscribe to our newsletter on the Hollywood Gossip. So you better believe that when Grow.me built the subscribe feature, it was one of the first things that I requested because the Hollywood Gossip runs Grow.me, and I will happily hand that one over to a much better product than the version I built for the Hollywood Gossip. I think that's probably what I'm most excited by.
Yeah, I will say that those designs for those emails are very pretty. Our designers and our engineers are super talented, and Eric's version was very not as pretty. Like it was like a line and a link, and ours are beautiful. So it will.
You have really a few more resources at your hand than I had back when I built the Hollywood Gossip. But yeah, I would say that's probably short term the feature I'm most excited about, just because I know how well it converts for the Hollywood Gossip. It will help grow. And again, your newsletter without a pop-up, my dream, we might be able to do it. We might be able to match it.
Okay. I'm still cracking up about Twitter, which, speaking of Twitter, we are having our second Twitter party on Monday. We will have more details about that, but the theme is SEO like a CEO. So if you do use Twitter, we might have a special guest appearance from somebody who might be a CEO and be good at SEO. So tune in, and maybe by then that person will come up with another really unique way to say that product name. We have one more question before we go. Eric, are there any new child themes coming out this year for Trellis? Now that we're talking about Trellis, you said the Trellis word and we broke the seal.
It's my own fault. I did it. So I think the most important thing with Trellis right now is buttoning up polishing up the 3 themes that we have, the child themes. So I think you're going to be very happy, people that are running the existing child themes, the way they're going to look, and including the core in the next few months as we're kind of cleaning everything up and getting everything ready for the wide release. We have another child theme in the works that is more of a magazine style layout that I know people were very excited by. But we first want to make sure that we're doing right by our existing publishers and the publishers that are running the current themes before we release that one. So new one is coming. I know a lot of you will love it, but I want to make sure you all love the existing child themes as well.
We have a quote that said, he said Twitter like Moira Rose, and he kind of did. Twitter, David.
We realized that we never watched the final season, so I've been watching the final season very recently. I know, and Moira's in my head, so apologies.
Amazing. Oh, disgruntled pelican. Okay, so for our next episode of Teal Talk, we are back on Thursday, April 8th. How's April already? At 3 p.m. Eastern time with Regina from Publish Your Thing. We are talking about newsletters, growing a list that loves you. And after that, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking all about core web vitals and page experience. And we'll be talking about how we can hit all of those new metrics that Google is putting out in May. And we'll be talking about that at the end of April. And then we have some more exciting stuff planned for May, including TikTok. So we've got a lot of great episodes coming up. Please, so you don't miss a thing, go and subscribe to our YouTube, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter so that you can make sure you can be there for our Twitter party on Monday. That sounds perfect. We have questions about the new Mediavine plan for lower traffic sites. We're going to have to answer you in the comments because we are out of time. But everybody, we have something coming. Eric, what are we doing for lower traffic sites? Do we have anything to say about that?
We're working as fast as we can. We're still trying to get it out as early as we can this year. It's happening. We have not forgotten about you. Our new offering is coming.
Promise. It'll be here soon. Okay, everyone. Thank you. Have a glorious day, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.